Adams, Landonwich, and Walton says, "We won't turn down a case because the client is unpopular or the other side is too powerful. We are real people representing real people and we get real results." Well, I'm Dr. Ed Warner Jr. and I'm as real as they come. And yes, I've made my set of mistakes. I made a mess of 2 pro se litigations, one in which I didn't know the evidence that I'm about to share with you, and the second, I did know it and didn't utilize it properly in the case. But that turns out to be a good thing because it allows this evidence to avoid any bar created by Hale's decision. The evidence. 4 years ago, April 18, 2015, Chris Otts, WDRB, reports that there was a one-day vesting of a $53,000 payment made authorized on September 29, 2011 by James Ramsey to Kathleen Smith at the University of Louisville. The day that story ran, the next day should have been an internal investigation by the University Foundation Board, if not by them, by the Board of Trustees, if not by them, from an external source. But it never occurred. When Governor Matt Bevin decided to get involved in university politics, starting with his decision to get involved in the Racial Composition Board and to side with Ramsey, and then later to encourage Ramsey to resign, he never once mentioned this incident, which clearly demonstrates at least one, if not multiple, crimes committed by the two of them. When Beshears decided to get involved after the audit was released, and it made no mention of this particular event, he had enough probable cause to arrest them on the spot and use that to jumpstart his investigation by compelling them to testify after arresting them. But he didn't. The university is now engaged in litigation all over the place, and even against Ramsey and Smith, and not making this argument that this misconduct even occurred. In fact, the only courtroom where this is being talked about is where Navigator Insurance is suing the university, saying that this is an example proving that it was insurance fraud when the university filed for administrators insurance in 2016 when Smith and Ramsey were on the way out the door. Even when Smith was fired by the university, there was no mention made of this misconduct, as it wasn't included in the audit either. And it is from this 3 new legal actions can be the focus. The first would be a whistleblower complaint or civil action if the connection is strong enough in terms of circumstantial evidence to the fact that on the same day that Ramsey authorized the payment, I signed a retainer with a lawyer, one of my former students, Kevin Doran, to represent me in the mediation. The first case would be against Bevin, Beshears, and the university for the above evidence cited that there was never an acknowledgement, never an action taken, and by not doing so, more misconduct has developed. Proof? Recently, the university sent me a letter on July 12th asking me to have input into their new strategic plan. The day after I responded, Grissom stepped down as chair of the Board of Trustees. And then about 6 days later in a deposition, he made a wild accusation that he's known since 2016 that Ramsey told him a board of directors paid for the strippers in the escort scandal. Is it true? Perhaps. But if it's true, why didn't he tell anybody over the last 3 years? And if it's not true, it's perjury. And why would a man of this age, an attorney, distinguished, do that? Because he knew Ramsey probably wouldn't testify. Maybe he wanted to destroy the case. Maybe he just wanted to delay the case. Don't know. But all of this goes back to no action being taken for a crime that currently exists. Those crimes are felonies. Felonies have no statute of limitation in the state of Indiana, or in the state of Kentucky. Legal action number 2. Ed Warner / GDC versus U of L. It is easy to make the argument that the 2011 settlement agreement should be void. It should be void because there was never any discussion or negotiation about my tenure, whether or not I created any assets as a professor, and whether or not the university had the right to keep those assets. And as long as they have those assets, and there's a 15-year written contract statute of limitations, I should be able to make the argument that I can get my assets back, or at least negotiate for them. Secondly, given the evidence just admitted, there might be additional misconduct because that money was probably used as a bribe toward the EEOC mediator, Alan Anderson, or him and my former attorney, Kevin Dorn, who clearly engaged in malpractice by allowing the mediation settlement, the settlement to be moved out of the mediation process. And then finally, action number 3 against the EEOC and Anderson directly, and this one would likely include Dorn. They did not follow their own protocol in the mediation process. When I came back to the table, there were certain protocols that should have been followed, mandatory mental health disclosures, like when the university ordered me to take a mental health exam that created evidence that could have exonerated me in my 2009 arrest, but then they refused to give it to me after it came out favorable for me. Or the failed arrest attempt in 2011, where the judge did say he thought I was suicidal and ordered a involuntary hold. None of that's ever been revealed or discussed, including the internal investigation whose findings came out 3 months after that, which is clearly what they're covering up in it. Now, all of this could be facilitated to create a winning outcome for the university and for most people involved if they come forward and accept responsibility for their actions. I'm in the process of creating 9 videos, all related to identity as it relates to the Louisville Slugger, Churchill Downs, and Muhammad Ali, and how the use of identity can pursue greater decisions. And talk about that relative to both these court cases and finding winning remedies and outcomes that help everybody, even those who engaged in wrongdoing, after they accept responsibility for their actions, and how the methods that I worked on at the university that became so valuable could now be valuable in a business service decision-making model that can facilitate the use of identity as a tool of empowerment in individual and group decision-making. And you can be a part of that. You should be a part of that because I came to you in the beginning when I didn't fully understand what was going on and as these actions continue. But that's a decision you have to make. Thank you for listening. I will move on. Have a wonderful day.